It was the summer of 2005, when gas was still $1.78 a gallon and Blockbuster stores had Friday night lines snaking out the door. I was 16, locking up the bakery in Marietta, Georgia, my apron dusted with flour, my hands raw from kneading dough. The humid night air clung to my skin as I pedaled my rusted bike home, passing houses with porch swings and mailboxes stuffed with mail-order catalogs. Our street was quiet, save for the hum of cicadas and the glow of our old TV flickering through the living room window, its rabbit ears tilted just so. I pushed open the front door, its creak a familiar ache. Inside, my brother Kyle sprawled across the couch, controller in hand, lost in his video game's electronic chirps. In the kitchen, Mom stirred a crock-pot of chicken pot pie, Kyle's favorite, her voice soft as she hummed Amazing Grace over the crackle of the radio. Dad sat at the oak table, a thermos mug in hand, muttering about car repairs, his brow furrowed under the weight of unpaid bills. No one looked up. No one asked how my day was. I stood in the doorway, my breath catching, feeling like a shadow in a house that no longer saw me. That's how it had always been. They called Kyle the dreamer, their voices warm with hope. He'd flunked out of art school in Savannah, drifted through jobs, barista, delivery driver, freelance artist, quitting each with a shrug. Yet Mom would cradle him after every failure, whispering, "You're just finding your path, sweetheart." When he crashed Dad's Ford, Dad sighed. Accidents happen. But when I brought home straight A's or won a full scholarship to Georgia State, their response was a distracted nod. "That's nice, Rachel," Mom said once, flipping through a Sears catalog. "But couldn't you pick a school closer? Kyle might need the car." My throat tightened, the hurt a quiet wound I'd learned to carry. I remembered Mom sitting up all night when I had a fever at 10, her cool hand on my forehead, her voice soothing. But now, her eyes only lit up for Kyle, her patience endless for his failures, not my sacrifices. I nodded, packed my bags, and left for college, promising myself it was temporary. I'd help them, then build my own life. But that promise became a chain, wrapping tighter each year. It started small, $50 for Dad's meds, $100 for Kyle's portfolio software. Then it grew, electricity bills, groceries, a new water heater. By 22, I was living in a cramped Atlanta apartment, surviving on instant noodles that tasted like cardboard, my second-hand laptop flickering as I wired money weekly to a family that never asked if I was okay. My checking account bled dry, and with it, a piece of my heart. I told myself strong people sacrifice, that love meant giving until it hurt. But the hurt became a constant companion, a weight I bore alone. No one saw the shadows under my eyes, the way my hands trembled when I skipped doctor's visits to send money home. My work blazer had a torn sleeve, patched with thread, but I couldn't afford a new one. Not when Mom called, frantic, saying, "We're about to lose power, Rachel. You're our only hope." I sent $800 that day, my vision blurring from low blood pressure, my stomach growling after a week of ramen. I was their fixer, their safety net, their emergency contact, but never their daughter, never the girl who needed to be held. Sometimes, I wondered if Mom saw me, or just the help she wished she had. Maybe guilt made her cold, or fear of aging made her cling to Kyle's failures and call them dreams. Maybe Dad's silence was exhaustion from years of scraping by. But those thoughts deepened the ache, because they never asked what their needs were doing to my soul. The more I gave, the less I existed. Kyle's needs were emergencies, mine were indulgences. When he dropped out of another program and needed a $1,200 laptop, Mom opened a credit card, her voice firm with conviction. I thought of my own laptop, its keys worn from nights teaching myself Excel on YouTube. My chest burned with unspoken words, but I stayed silent, watching them pour their faith into Kyle's dreams while mine faded like old photographs. I was 25 when I landed a job at a top investment firm in Atlanta, my hands trembling as I signed the offer letter. I waited for their pride, their joy. Instead, Mom asked if I could drive her to a doctor's appointment. Dad needed help budgeting their Myrtle Beach vacation. Kyle smirked, "Must be nice," then asked for $500 for rent, again. The words cut, But deeper was the silence beneath them, the absence of their belief in me. I carried them through every storm, Kyle's failures, Dad's layoffs, Mom's medical bills. Each sacrifice chipped away at me, leaving a hollow space where my dreams used to live. And no one asked what it was doing to my heart. It was a Sunday in 2015, the Georgia sky heavy with gray clouds, a light drizzle kissing my car's windshield. I'd worked all weekend at the firm, my eyes burning from spreadsheets, my body aching for rest. Yet there I was, driving 40 minutes to Marietta, grocery bags in the back seat, salmon, frozen lasagna, Mom's favorite peach jam. The weight of duty pressed against my chest, a familiar ache that followed me like a shadow. I showed up, as I always did, tired or not, wanted or not. I stepped into the kitchen, the scent of lavender soap and old coffee wrapping around me. The linoleum was worn, the same floor I'd mopped as a teenager, the radio softly playing Dolly Parton. I set the bags on the counter, my hands trembling from more than the cold. I waited for a greeting, a flicker of warmth. None came. Mom turned from the sink, her arms crossed, her face tight with a rehearsed hardness. Her eyes, once soft when she'd nursed me through childhood fevers, now carried a weariness I couldn't unsee. "Rachel, we're out of time," she said, her voice sharp. "You didn't send the money this week. What's wrong with you?" My stomach twisted, dread settling like a stone. "I sent $600 last week," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm stretched thin, Mom. I can't keep up." Dad shuffled in, his work boots scuffing, his thermos mug in hand. His eyes avoided mine. "You're making good money, Rachel. We're about to lose the house. Doesn't that matter to you?" The word matter burned in my chest, igniting years of swallowed pain. I stared at them, the two people I'd carried for years, paying their mortgage, their utilities, their repairs, while letting my own dreams wither. "Matter?" I said, my voice breaking. "I've given everything, my savings, my health, my life. And it's still not enough." Kyle's voice cut in from the living room, lazy and venomous. "If you were really a good sister, you wouldn't let us sink like this. You're just selfish, Rachel." The dam inside me broke, a flood of hurt rushing forward. I turned to him, my voice trembling but firm. "Selfish? Kyle, I've paid for every fresh start you've thrown away. I've eaten ramen for weeks to cover your rent. You've never held a job longer than 6 months. And you call me selfish?" He rolled his eyes, the gesture slicing deeper than words. Mom stepped forward, her voice rising, sharp with accusation. "Don't you dare talk to your brother like that. We didn't raise you to break this family apart." "Break this family?" I said, my voice low, heavy with hurt. "I've been holding it together my whole life. And all I get is, you're not enough." Mom's lips tightened, her eyes cold with shame. I wondered if she remembered the nights she'd sat by my bedside, or if Kyle's needs had erased those memories. Her words cut through my thoughts. "If you really cared, Rachel, you wouldn't abandon us when we need you most. You're tearing this family apart." The air went still. Those words had haunted me for years, a shadow over every sacrifice. But this time, they didn't break me. They steadied me. I looked at her, my heart cracking but resolute. "If that's what you think," I said softly, "then I can't stay." I grabbed my coat, my movement slow, as if memorizing this moment. "No one stopped me," Mom shouted. "You walk out that door. Don't come back." Kyle muttered, so dramatic, as the door clicked shut. I stepped into the rain, my hair clinging to my face, my sneakers sinking into the wet grass. The cold seeped into my bones, but my chest felt lighter, as if I'd shed a burden I'd carried too long. I glanced back at the house, the porch swing creaking, the kitchen light glowing. For the first time, I didn't feel the pull to go back. I drove to a gas station, parked, and sat in silence, the rain tapping on the roof. My phone buzzed, Mom's text. "You're killing us, Rachel. This house is all we have." I didn't answer. I scrolled to their names, Mom, Dad, Kyle, and blocked them, my finger trembling but certain. It wasn't hate. It was survival, a desperate act to save the girl I'd forgotten how to be. Later that week, despite the hurt, I sent $200 for Mom's heart medication, my hands shaking as I made the transfer. I waited for a thank you, a sign they saw me. Nothing came, just silence sharp as a blade. In the spring of 2016, I woke to silence in my midtown apartment. No TV blaring, no pots clanging, no one knocking to ask for a ride. Just morning light spilling across the hardwood, painting my thrift store rug in shades of gold. The quiet was unfamiliar, like a stranger's embrace, filling me with peace and unease. I lay in bed, my heart racing, waiting for the phone to buzz, for old demands to pull me back. When it didn't, I felt a flicker of freedom, fragile but real, like a seedling breaking through soil. At night, the silence deepened. No texts about overdue bills, no calls about broken appliances. I flinched at every notification, my pulse quickening, only to see a work email or a coupon. I'd blocked them not out of anger, but because I knew I'd answer. I'd fall back into the spiral that had drained my soul. 6 months passed, each day a quiet step toward rebuilding the girl I'd lost. I shopped for one, filling my fridge with peaches and greens, not their pantry hand-me-downs. My kitchen was mine. Every mug placed just so, stirring soup a reclaiming of my time. I cleaned on Saturdays, the scent of lemon polish a rebellion against chaos. One rainy afternoon, I drove past the old house, its porch swing still, the windows dark. No one called my name, and the silence felt like both a wound and a gift. Some mornings, I sat with a cup of tea, staring out my window, remembering high school, sneaking Mom's mail-order catalogs to dream of a life beyond Marietta, studying late while Kyle played games. The memories softened the edges of my anger, but they couldn't erase the truth. I'd been invisible too long. My savings grew, though my patched blazer and flickering laptop reminded me how much I'd given up. I journaled at a desk by the window, a thrifted lamp casting a warm glow over a notepad labeled My Future. I read books that spoke to my soul, their words a balm. At a library book club, I met Clara, a 70-year-old retiree with sharp eyes and a warm laugh. Over coffee, she shared her story, decades of supporting her siblings, only to learn to say no in her 50s. "You're not selfish, Rachel," she said. "You're saving yourself." Her words became a lighthouse, guiding me through the fog of guilt. One evening, on my balcony, I heard jazz drifting from a neighbor's radio, weaving through the humid air. I leaned back, eyes closed, and let tears fall, not from sadness, but from the weight of freedom. No one had asked for money that day. No one had called me selfish for choosing myself. The tears were a release, a surrender to the life I was building. I started sleeping through the night, my dreams no longer tangled in ATMs or deadlines. I changed my phone background from the family home to a sunrise over Atlanta's skyline, its colors bold and new. I enrolled in a pottery class, my hands shaping clay, each wobbly bowl a testament to my growing strength. It began with a text, 5 words from Mom at 10:37 p.m. "Your dad got a letter." I was brushing my teeth, the minty foam sharp, my reflection weary in the mirror. I didn't need to read more. The house. The mortgage. The same song, stripped of warmth. My heart sank, not with guilt, but with a bone-deep exhaustion. 6 months earlier, I'd been ready to sign a lease on my first condo, a small, sunlit place in Midtown, my first real step toward a life of my own. I'd saved for the deposit, my heart racing with hope. Then Mom called, sobbing, "Kyle's behind on rent. If you don't help, he'll be homeless." I sent $2,000, canceling the lease, my dreams slipping away like sand. I believed her when she said, "We'll pay you back." The next morning, brewing coffee, my phone lit up. "Dad, the house is in trouble. You're our last chance, Rachel. Call." His words stirred dread, but I didn't call. Instead, I opened my laptop, my pulse quickening, and logged into the account for their mortgage payments, the one I hadn't touched in 6 months, the one I'd trusted. I scrolled through transactions, each a memory of sacrifice, $980 for mortgage, July, $980 for mortgage, August. But the last payment to the bank? 8 months ago. My coffee mug slipped, clattering in the sink. 3 months after that, I'd sent $2,940. Nearly $3,000. Gone. My breath caught, a sob rising. I dug deeper, finding a transfer to an art academy. $2, $500 for Kyle's painting course. Not medical bills, as Mom had claimed, but another of Kyle's fleeting dreams. The truth hit like a punch. They'd lied, taken my condo deposit, my sacrifices, and poured it into Kyle's illusions. They'd never intended to let me go. That night, I paced my apartment, the hardwood creaking, my heart a tangle of rage and grief. I called the bank, my voice shaking. The rep's words were final. The mortgage hasn't received a payment since January. Foreclosure may begin soon. I thanked her and hung up, sinking onto the couch, the darkness pressing against me. The hum of the fridge was my only company. It wasn't just the money. It was the lie, the way they drained me, knowing I'd give, knowing I'd break. I saw Mom's desperate eyes, Dad's averted gaze, Kyle's smug shrug, and realized they'd built their lives on my sacrifice, with no plan to set me free. I typed a message to Dad, my fingers trembling. I spoke to the bank. The mortgage is 8 months overdue. You used my money for Kyle's art course, not medical bills. Why did you lie? I hit send, my heart pounding, then set the phone down. No reply came. 15 minutes later, it rang, Dad's name glowing. I let it ring, the sound echoing, until it stopped. I wasn't ready. Not until I could speak without shattering. The next night, Dad called again, his name a weight on my screen. I let it go to voicemail, my heart racing. He called again, and again, each ring a pull at the peace I'd built. On the third call, I picked up, not because I wanted his voice, but because I needed to speak my own. "Rachel," he said, his voice low, cautious, like when I'd confessed a broken dish as a child. "I guess you found out about the bank." "Yes," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "And the art course. You lied to me." He paused, the silence heavy. "We had to help Kyle. You don't understand how hard it's been." I laughed, a dry, hollow sound, the hurt spilling over. "Hard? I've eaten ramen for months, Dad. I canceled my condo for you. I sent money when I could barely stand from exhaustion. And you used it for Kyle's fantasies?" Mom's voice cut in, sharp and defensive, as if she'd snatched the phone. "You weren't raised to be this selfish, Rachel. We didn't ask you to be born his sister, did we? Helping is your responsibility." The words hit like a slap, my vision blurring with tears. "Responsibility," I said, my voice trembling with years of grief. "I've carried this family my whole life. I've given my health, my dreams, my peace. And you call me selfish." Kyle's voice piped up, lazy and venomous. "You're just mad because you're alone, Rachel. If you were a real sister, you wouldn't let us lose everything." My grip tightened, my pulse pounding. "A real sister?" I said, my voice low, deliberate. "I've been your bank, Kyle. I've been everyone's bank. And you've never once asked if I was okay." Dad came back on, his voice pleading. "Rachel, we're sorry. But if you don't help, the house is gone. You'll be killing us. Don't let this family fall apart." My breath caught, the house flashing before me, the porch swing, the kitchen table, Mom's lavender soap. For a moment, I felt the old pull, the weight of duty. Then I spoke, my voice steady, heavy with sorrow. "I can't be the one holding everything together anymore. If the house falls, maybe that's the wake-up we all need." The silence was raw, heavy, like the air before a storm. "You're no daughter of mine," Mom spat, her voice cracking, piercing my heart. "I've lost too much trying to be," I said softly, my eyes burning with tears. "You were supposed to protect me, but you drained me." Dad's voice trembled. "We'll pay you back, Rachel. Please." A bitter smile touched my lips, the promise empty as ever. You've said that before. I took a shaky breath, the words I'd held for years rising. I'm done, I said, my voice soft but firm. No more money. No more guilt. You'll have to figure it out like I did. Mom began to cry, the sound muffled, distant. Dad pleaded, Rachel, don't. But I had made my choice. I hung up, the quiet wrapping around me like a warm quilt. My hands shook, but my heart was steady, anchored in a peace I hadn't known before. I whispered to myself, maybe someday they'll understand. Maybe not. But if the day comes, I'll be ready with honesty, not obligation. After hanging up, I stood in my kitchen, the silence a gentle embrace, heavy but warm. I powered off my phone and left it untouched for 3 days, the absence of buzzing a gift to my weary soul. No guilt messages, no pleas, just the hum of my fridge and the spring breeze through the window, carrying the scent of blooming dogwoods. I sat with a cup of tea one morning, staring out my window, the Atlanta skyline soft in the dawn. I remembered sneaking Mom's crock-pot recipes as a girl, dreaming of cooking for family of my own. The memory stung, a reminder of the mother I'd lost to Kyle's needs. But it also steadied me, a quiet resolve to build that life for myself. I slept with the window open, the air cool against my skin, whispering of new beginnings. I walked to the market, bought yellow tulips, and cooked pasta with fresh basil, each act a reclaiming of my life. My patched blazer and flickering laptop were scars of survival, but my savings grew, a promise of a future I could claim. At Clara's church potluck, I shared my story over peach cobbler, the room's warmth easing my heart. Mr. Harris, an older man, patted my hand. You're not alone, child. We've all had to draw a line. I left with a full heart, the weight of my choice lighter. One morning, a letter arrived, a foreclosure notice for the house, the words cold and final. I held my phone, my finger hovering over Mom's number, my heart pounding. I could call, offer to help, fall back into the cycle. But I set the phone down, the silence steadying me. I couldn't go back, not if I wanted to stay whole. Weeks later, I saw Mom and Dad outside my office, their faces lined, their eyes searching. My heart lurched, memories of Mom's gentle hands clashing with her sharp words. I turned away, my step steady, my patched blazer a reminder of what I'd survived. If I'd gone to them that day, would I still be me? I sat on my bed, tracing my old blanket stitches, letting grief and relief wash over me. I'd thought being a good daughter meant giving until it hurt. Now I knew it meant knowing when to stop. I signed up for a financial planning course, each lesson a step toward a life that was mine. Rachel's story is a mirror for those who've carried silent burdens, believing family comes first. If you've ever put off your dreams to keep peace in a family, you're not alone. If you've been told that good children don't say no, then maybe it's time to rewrite that script. And if you've leaned too hard on the one who always gives, maybe this is your chance to say thank you before they break. Rachel's story isn't just hers. It's ours too. It's your daughter, your neighbor, or maybe it's you. This isn't just Rachel's story. It's the story of every person who gave too much and learned. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. The lesson isn't about cutting ties. It's about honoring yourself within them. Ask, have I given so much I've forgotten myself? Practical steps. Set small boundaries. Dedicate 1 hour a week to yourself. Read, walk, or sit quietly. Seek community. Join a book club or church to share your story. Connection heals. Reflect on your heart. Ask, am I giving from love or obligation? Use age's clarity. What would you do if you were Rachel? Would you go back or finally choose peace? Share your story below. Someone out there may need to hear it. This channel is a space for people who've carried too much too long. If this story touched something in you, consider joining us here. You're not alone. And you shouldn't have to carry it all alone either.